Soldiers of the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade defeated a Russian armored group in the Kupiansk sector. The brigade's press service published a video of their destruction. The enemy used 5 armored vehicles for the assault, 2 tanks and 3 infantry fighting vehicles with troops inside, which were timely detected by the unit's aerial reconnaissance. Before approaching the enemy's landing target, the infantry fighting vehicles were attacked by the military, but not very successfully. Already at the site of the rush, when the enemy infantry started to abandon their combat vehicles, the brigade's drone operators began to operate drones with munitions. The enemy's attempt to save and disguise the combat vehicles failed, leading to their destruction by drone strikes. First, the enemy lost an infantry fighting vehicle, and then a tank was destroyed. Both units were completely destroyed beyond repair. The enemy personnel, who were thrown into the battle, were unable to maneuver and attack due to the loss of equipment. They tried to hide in the forest, where a significant part of them was also eliminated by drone strikes. Previously reported that soldiers of the 14th Separate Mechanized Brigade stopped the assault of Russian invaders with the use of armored vehicles in the Kupiansk direction. A convoy of Russian infantry fighting vehicles, IFVs, and tanks was detected by drones on the outskirts of Ukrainian positions. One of the enemy combat vehicles exploded violently, which was recorded by a Ukrainian drone. This was either due to a kamikaze drone strike or an anti-tank mine. After damaging several armored vehicles, Russian infantry landed and tried to gain a foothold. Meanwhile, units of the 110th Mechanized Brigade repelled a Russian assault near the village of Novyi Komar in the Donetsk region. The enemy used a column of armored vehicles, consisting of 3 tanks and infantry fighting vehicles with troops inside, to attack. The enemy assault was fought off in several stages. The first stage involved using FPV drones to destroy infantry fighting vehicles with troops inside. The first infantry fighting vehicles were hit and stopped, and the rest of the troops scattered and sought cover in the fields and forests. Then, the brigade's external pilots began to work on the enemy tanks, which were left without cover and became easy targets. Thanks to the pilots' skill, the tanks were hit in vulnerable places to cause significant damage, and even if they had been evacuated, their recovery would have been impossible. Thus, the enemy lost 3 tanks and 1 infantry fighting vehicle in the failed assault, and personnel losses remain unknown. The village of Novyi Komar, where defense forces are trying to gain an advantage over the enemy, as the Russians are not giving up their attempts to capture it. The enemy is throwing significant forces at this area and suffering heavy losses, trying to outnumber the defense forces in terms of personnel and equipment. In addition, in the Donetsk region, near the village of Vyimka, Russian assault groups were defeated by soldiers of the Edelweiss Brigade. The brigade's 109th Separate Mountain Assault Battalion reported that the battle took place on December. The Russian military command sent armored vehicles and infantry to attack. The path to the Ukrainian positions went through a field where other assault groups had previously been defeated. However, this did not deter the Russian invaders, and they tried to advance as far as possible along mined roads and under artillery fire. The Ukrainian military destroyed all the armored vehicles of the Russian armored group. Then the invaders tried to advance with infantry, which was already being targeted by FPV drones. All these attacks were repelled with devastating losses for the enemy, the battalion representative said. Ukrainian soldiers also used incendiary shells from drones, which are used to destroy fortifications where enemy infantry is hiding. The situation in the Siversky sector remains tense. The enemy continues attempts to break through the defense of Ukrainian forces, and in some areas has had some success, such as in the direction of Vimka. Deteriorating weather conditions and natural features favor Russian use of its forces at a time when it is very difficult to use drones.